live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the FTN Betting Show. Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Wednesday, June 29th here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players, and now you could win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game as well. It's super easy to play. So first, in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like, and you're going to pick whether they're going to go over or under their listed total. So for example, tonight in baseball, it could be the number of hits, maybe the number of strikeouts, number of runs a guy's going to score. Then you're going to choose an amount of money you want to enter into the contest. And if you pick correctly, you win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money if you go 5 out of 5 and get them all correct. But the main reason I'm excited about this new over-under game on Sleeper, it's the only app where I can join with my buddies and we could all play together. It has a built-in group chat where I could see what you're playing. You could see what I'm playing. We could all copy what the guy who's won 3 days in a row is playing. And it's insanely fun when everybody in the squad is rooting together and riding it out. So stop what you're doing now and download Sleeper, play their new over-under game, have some fun with your friends, and make a little bit of money in the process. On your mobile phone, you can join our listener group on Sleeper by going to sleeper.com/FTNbets, and Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. Again, go to the description in this podcast at the bottom, sleeper.com/FTNbets, and you'll get that $100 deposit match on your first deposit. There are terms and conditions that will apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for those details. If you guys are looking for some MLB plays today, make sure you get over to ftndaily.com. You can click on the Sleeper. You can click on Sleeper in our pick tracker, and you can see what we're going to be playing today for the MLB action. But today, we're going to talk a little bit of NFL action. We're going to get back to our preseason previews, team betting previews. And today, I had to do it here. The last one I did was the New York Jets, and I had a whole bunch of my friends in the New York, New Jersey area say to me, Benny, you did the Jets. When are you going to do the Giants? So you know what? Today, we're going to do the team betting preview for the New York Giants. So let's get into it. Last season, the New York Giants were 4-13. This year, they have a win total projection of about 7.5 is the number that's out there in the market on most of the sports books. A couple books actually have it up to 8.5. A couple books have it down to 7, but 7.5 is pretty much the consensus number here. And I think it's a good number as well. Jeff Ratcliffe, in his win total projection article that he did over on FTN Bets, has the New York Giants projected for 7.2 wins this season. So a little bit below the 7.5 prop number. But as you'll see, we're getting plus money to go over that number, which means that, you know, they're pretty much in agreement. The books and the bettors are pretty much in agreement with what Jeff is saying here with that 7.2 projected win number. So again, the consensus number in the market is 7.5. You can play over 7.5 for a plus 135 payout over on FanDuel and PointsBet. A plus 135, that's giving them about a 42.5%, 42.5% probability of going over 7.5 wins here on the season, which again is probably where it should be, considering that the number that Jeff has for us over at FTN Bets is 7.2. So you would figure you're going to get some, you're going to get some enticement to take an over that 7.5, because remember, we need that number to go all the way up to 8, right? Like you can't get 7.6 wins during a season. You're either going to have 8 wins or you're going to have 7 wins there. So, you know, getting paid plus 135 for the Giants to get to 8 wins and cover that 7.5, it's a good number. It's in line with where it should be. Now, again, is it a number I really want to take? No, not really. I don't really think the Giants are going to bounce back, double the number of wins that they had last season. You know, they play in a division with the Dallas Cowboys, who is not a team I expect them to beat. The Philadelphia Eagles, another team I do not expect them to beat. The only team I do expect them to beat at least once in their division is going to be the Washington. Well, what are they now? They're not the Redskins anymore. The Commanders, right? The Washington Commanders will be the only team that I do think they have a good chance to beat here. So again, we don't want to go too crazy with it, but plus 135 FanDuel PointsBet, best price we can get out there in the market. On the downside for the under, if you want to play under that 7.5, that is juiced way up right now. The Lowest price, the best price we can get is on Unibet at minus 155. This is minus 160 on BetMGM and FanDuel. So, I mean, again, we're looking at like a 60, 61% probability of the Giants, implied probability at those numbers of the Giants finishing under 7.5 wins, which again, Jeff has them projected under 7.5. Under 7.5 is probably the more likely outcome for the Giants here. But again, at minus 155, not really all that enticing to go over and take it. DraftKings has this number right at 7. So if you get 7 wins, you get a push. Under 7 wins is minus 125. So even under 7 is still juiced at minus 125 over on DraftKings. To get over 7, which again means you would have to get to 8, plus 105. Now, why would you take the plus 105 instead of the plus 135 on the over 7.5? Well, you do get a push if they land on 7. Is that worth 30 basis points for you? To me, I would still rather just take the over 7.5 if you're somebody who is very bullish on the New York Giants, which again is not the way I see it this year, but you know what? Maybe they do get to 8 wins. We'll see what happens. Sugar House and Bet Rivers has this juiced all the way up to 8.5, meaning that you would need 9 wins for the New York Giants in order to cash it, but they're paying you handsomely for it. Plus 230 is the over on that 8.5 number at Sugar House and Bet Rivers. The under is a minus 305. So again, very likely that they're going to finish with less than 9 wins this year. I don't really think that's a hot take. I think that's something a lot of people would agree with. So the next number we'll look at is whether or not the Giants will make the playoffs this year. This is available on quite a few books. The number is pretty high if you guys are interested in. If you think the Giants can make the playoffs this year, the number is, yes, the Giants will make the playoffs. You could get a payout of plus 260 on that at Bet Rivers, Sugar House, or Unibet. They have this up at plus 260 for the Giants to make the playoffs. No, on the downside, the Giants will not make the playoffs. Minus 250 over at BetMGM. At plus 260 and minus 250, we actually have a situation where we could bet on both sides of this and guarantee ourselves a little bit of a profit here, because if we bet $250 that the Giants will not make the playoffs, we would win $100 there. We only have to bet like 90, it's a little bit less than, was it maybe $97 or $98 in order to win 250 if they do make the playoffs and break even. So we can kind of guarantee ourselves a profit of like $1 or $2 per $100 just by betting the best of the upside number and the best of the downside number. Now, again, in order for you to make any real money on this, you would have to be putting massive amounts of money down on these numbers here. Again, you're making like $1 per $100 that you put in there. So again, if you want to make $100, you'd have to lay out 10 grand on one side and like 25,000 on the other. So is it worth it? No, it's probably not worth it, but you don't see too many situations here where, you can, if you take the best number on each side of a bet at different books, you could actually wind up guaranteeing yourself a profit. So just something I wanted to point out, not something I think people should be chasing or going in there and betting, but theoretically, if you bet $250 on BetMGM at no, you would win $100. And if you bet $98 on Bet River, Sugar House, or Unibet at plus 260, you would wind up winning $250, which would cover the $250 you lost on the other side. Like I said, you could figure it out where you make like $1 or $2 per $100 that you bet here. But again, is it really worth it? Not really in my book, but I would say the no is probably the better way to go. Minus 250 BetMGM. I feel like that number is a little bit low. So I do think that's a decent bet if you want to go out there and take it. So now let's talk about some of the odds to win the division, to win the NFC, to win the Super Bowl, all that good stuff for the New York Giants. The New York Giants are the longest odds on the board to win the NFC East. Dallas is the shortest price. They're like a little bit above, like maybe plus 125, plus 130 around there, depending on the books. Philly is not far behind Dallas, like plus 160 to plus 180 range is kind of where you're seeing them. The Washington Redskins and the New York Giants are the Redskins. I'm going to say this all season long. The Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. The Commanders are plus 500-ish. The Giants, the best price we can get on the Giants, you could play them at plus 800 to win the NFC East. DraftKings has that number. Caesars has that number. At that number, it's like an 11.1% implied probability that they would win. I even think that's a little bit high. I think their chances of winning are probably even less than 10% here. So I would need to see probably like, plus 1,000 or more before I started getting interested there. Let's see, plus 700 points bet, MGM, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, Unibet. That is the consensus number on the Giants to win the East, plus 700. That's the one we see in the most sports books out there. FanDuel has the low on it at plus 600. But if you want to bet the Giants to win the NFC East, DraftKings and Caesars at plus 800, the way to do that. And again, take advantage of, go over to ftnbets.com/sportsbooks. You can take advantage of all the offers that all these sports books have right now. I think DraftKings is something like maybe $1,000 deposit bonus match. I think Caesars is $1,000 risk-free first bet. So if you want to bet the Giants, you can put them in over there and get a little bit of extra bang for your buck. Let's see. The Giants to win the entire NFC is 60-1 or plus 6,000. You can get that at PointsBet and DraftKings. That is the best price on the New York Giants to win the entire NFC this year. Again, not something I think is very likely, just something I want to make sure I tell you guys because this is the New York Giants betting preview. You could get that number as low as plus 4,000, but I don't know why you would want to play it at 40-1 when you can get it at 60-1. But MGM, Unibet, BetRivers, Sugar House all have it at 40-1, that plus 4,000 number. PointsBet, DraftKings, best place to play the Giants to win the NFC, 60-1 or plus 6,000 there. Giants Super Bowl chances. Let's see. What do we have here? We have 130-1 or 13,000 over on DraftKings. That's the best price in the market. The consensus number is plus 10,000, so 100-1. BetRivers, Sugar House, MGM, Caesars. FanDuel with the low again on the New York Giants at plus 8,000. I honestly think part of the reason why FanDuel has these numbers so low, I'm looking at these numbers from the New Jersey sports books that are available. And at the New Jersey sports books, you're probably going to get more people betting on teams like the Jets and the Giants and the Yankees and the Mets and the Rangers and the Islanders and, all the other teams in the New York area. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit lower on FanDuel than it is on all the other books that are available. Not that FanDuel isn't available around the country, but again, they do have a rather large sports book in the Meadowlands in New Jersey where people are probably more likely to be betting on the Jets and the Giants since that is where they play their home games. So I think that's the reason why you tend to see FanDuel have a lower number on basically anything Jets and Giants related. They're almost never the best place to play a Jets or Giants bet because they do take a lot of action from the, tri-state New York, New Jersey area. So anyway, that wraps it up for the team stuff here. Let's go and talk about some of the player props. And there's not a lot of things here that are really jumping off the page to me, but there are a couple numbers that people may be interested in that I wanted to throw out there. The first one is going to be, let's talk a little bit of Saquon Barkley here. Offensive player of the year, 80-1 on PointsBet, plus 8,000 is the best place you can play that number. He is 75-1 on Unibet, Sugar House, and BetRivers, plus 7,500. 66-1 on BetMGM, 60-1 on DraftKings and FanDuel. So again, PointsBet at 80-1, by far the best place you can play Saquon Barkley. Here's the thing about Saquon Barkley, right? Is like his rookie year, he was awesome. And then since his rookie year, he's played 13, 2, and 13 games in the last 3 seasons since then. But you look back to his rookie year numbers. I mean, the guy had 1,300 yards rushing. He had another 700 yards receiving. So he went over 2,000 total yards. He scored, what do you have, 11 rushing touchdowns, 4 through the air, I think. So that's 15 total touchdowns in 16 games. So his rookie year, he had over 2,000 total yards and 16 touchdowns. Those are really good numbers. Those are numbers that would put you, may not win you the Offensive Player of the Year award, but at least put you in the conversation. So if Saquon can ever get back to those numbers, we may have something that we got to consider here. So definitely, definitely something to look at. And like I said, I like the fact that we're getting 80-1 on it on PointsBet as opposed to the 60-1 on sites like DraftKings and FanDuel. It is just a much better payout if you're going to put any money on it as well. Again, is this something that I'm mortgaging a house to put money on? Absolutely not. But if you got like a $20 free bet line around or, something like that, I don't think putting it on Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year, is all that crazy if you have faith in the Giants. Remember, if they're going to go from 4 wins to 7, 8, or 9 wins, like some of these books are looking at and kind of predicting here, they're going to need somebody to step up on offense. And I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the guy that gets it done. So it's going to need to be a big year from Saquon Barkley. Let's see. Most rushing yards. Again, not something that I'm rushing out to put money on, but I did just want to kind of let you guys know. Saquon Barkley to lead the league in rushing, 50-1 plus 5,000. PointsBet, Caesars, FanDuel, Unibet, BetRivers, Sugar House all have him at that 50-1 number there. He is as low as 35-1 over on DraftKings, which I would not even consider. Honestly, I'm not even considering the 50-1 really. But again, if you're going to play it, do not play it on DraftKings at 35-1. You can get this at 50-1 on any one of those other books. And again, if you need to sign up for one, ftnbets.com/sportsbooks. You'll get all the offers that are out there in the market. Everybody's offering some kind of free bet or deposit bonus. You should be taking advantage of all of those things if you can, because free money is always good, especially in betting. It makes you a more profitable player. Next thing we're going to talk about here, Kayvon Thibodeau, the number 5 overall pick for the New York Giants and one of the favorites to be this year's Defensive Rookie of the Year. So his numbers are really, really short. And that's why I wanted to talk about it here, because this is something that I think is a solid bet for people that want to get a little bit of money down on. He is a defensive lineman. He's somebody that's going to need to rack up some sacks, play a lot of snaps, and really help his defense out in order for, him to win. But again, the guy was a number 5 overall pick for a reason. He is one of the most impact players that we had on the defensive side of the football available in the draft this year. And it's a lot easier for a guy like Thibodeau, who plays on the D line, to win this award versus a guy like we talked about with the New York Jets with Sauce Gardner. Again, if you're a cornerback and you're good, teams don't throw the ball your way. If they don't throw your ball your way, you're not going to have a chance to get a lot of tackles. You're not going to have a chance to get a lot of interceptions or deflected balls. So it's a lot easier for somebody on the D line who can get pressure on the quarterback to rack up some of those sacks. It's just a lot better resume to look at. If you get a guy that gets, 8 to 10 sacks as a rookie, that's going to be something that people are going to be like, wow, this guy can really play. And it'll probably be something that could have you walk away with the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. So plus 600 on Sugar House Bet Rivers Unibet, best price on Thibodeau to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's plus 550 on FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, and PointsBet. So that's really where the number should be, somewhere in that 550 to 600 range there. The cheapest price is plus 400 over on Caesars. You definitely want to avoid playing it over there. There are 6 or 7 books we just mentioned where you can get a better price on it than that, if you're interested in playing him to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. The last thing I want to talk about here with the New York Giants is going to be Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver. So this guy had a couple big games last year. He's a guy that came in with a lot of hype, battled through a bunch of injuries throughout last season. He does seem to be healthy and ready to go this year. 150-1 for the most receiving yards. I don't know if I really want to take that, but again, it's a pretty big number. PointsBet, Caesars, Unibet, Bet Rivers, Sugar House, all have him at that plus 15,000, 150-1 payout. He's 100-1 or plus 10,000 on DraftKings or FanDuel. So again, you're getting a much better price on some of the other books. And again, DraftKings and FanDuel, 2 books that have a very big New Jersey, New York area kind of clientele. You're going to get a lower price on them there than you're going to get them on other books. So definitely look for the other books over there. I would be interested to see the number of catches and the number of yards for Kadarius Toney. Right now, none of the books currently have those props listed. We should start seeing those season-long props coming out sometime in July and August. Definitely make sure you guys get over to FTN Bets. We'll have some more information there, as well as some more of these, futures bets once we get a little more, more information and some of the futures actually start coming out. Right now, we do have our early bird pricing going on at FTN for not only our daily fantasy stuff, but also our season-long fantasy stuff for those of you who have NFL drafts coming up, fantasy football drafts coming up. And we also have our FTN Bets package, which currently is pretty heavy into the baseball betting at the moment, as well as things like tennis and MMA and, all the other sports that are going on. We have charts, we have graphs, and we have expert analysis as well about what we're looking at, why certain picks are there, why the numbers are, numbers that we're willing to play on. If you use promo code Benny on FTN Bets, FTN Daily, or FTN Fantasy right now, you could save 20% off. Plus, we also have the early bird pricing now, which is the cheapest price that you're going to get in. So definitely make sure you get over there and check that out over at FTN. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for today. Remember, you can go down to the description of this podcast as well, sleeper.com/FTN Bets. That gets you a $100 match on your first deposit over there. We got a lot of MLB action going on Sleeper now, and you're going to get some NFL action coming up, as well as the NFL drafts. The NFL drafts, their fantasy football drafts over on Sleeper have already opened. I know, Adam and Tyler, our boys from the FTN Datacast, they already did a draft over there on Sleeper, a little bit earlier that they live streamed. This way people can get a little bit of an idea. If you're looking for that fantasy information, get over to ftnfantasy.com. Remember, use promo code Benny.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.